Hello my friends, it's Katie. I'm here with a new tutorial for you. So I put a little strip of tape, it's kind of like washi tape, where I am going to make the horizon, and it's thinner than washi. And then I wet my filbert brush and I started applying ultramarine blue by Liquitex Basics, and then some light blue, and I started blending it together. And that's just, you kind of just do what you want to do there. You just kind of blend it how you want it, but you go darker to lighter. And then I started with some clouds using titanium white and a filbert brush, and you just tap 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 in your clouds. And then I put a little bit of light blue inside the clouds to give it some dimension, and then I go back over the top with some white to make some brighter peaks, as if the sun is hitting them. Then I take the tape off, let it dry, and then I put the tape back on, but on the painted part, because now I'm going to be painting the ocean part. So I'm using cobalt blue and a turquoise green, and I'm just mixing them together. I did cobalt blue first, and then I started mixing in some green, and I'll just keep going back and forth with a little blue and a little green, just until I like the way that it looks. Then you're going to let it dry really well. And I started in with some pumpkin spice orange for the sand, and then desert sand color in Americana, Deco Art Americana. So I start out with the orange, and then I put the sand over the top. And now I'm doing some white mixed in with the turquoise, and I just went in and put some over the top of the sand, because it just makes it look like the water's starting to come in on the sand that way. And then I took the tape off the horizon, and I'm taking a super fine brush and putting in just some little sparklies of white where it looks like waves. And I do a lot, you'll notice throughout this whole video, I do a lot of smashing with my finger and blending with my finger. That's just something I've always done. So I took a filbert brush and I did the same thing with the water line. I just tapped all the way across, and then I took a fine brush and just made little scribbles all the way across, just to make it look like water splashing into the sand. And I just kind of messed with it and fooled with it until I liked it. I put a little wave on the left bottom corner. It'll pop up here in a minute, but just for fun, you don't have to. And all of this is titanium white with the water. Now I'm taking a super fine brush. Sorry, this is going to go off camera a little bit. But with this little fine brush, I'm putting in a darker raw sienna, just to make it have a little shadow where the water line is. Now I kind of sketched out some leaves, and not really necessarily following completely by it, but I just kind of wanted an idea of where I wanted my greenery. And this is a dark green that I used, and I painted it in first, and I decided that I wanted them a little bit darker. It does take a couple coats, because the Liquitex Basics does tend to be a little bit more translucent. So you do have to add a couple of coats. So after I get all the dark in on the leaves, I took some light green and started putting the little veins in the leaves. Now I took a rake brush, and I'm just putting in little dashes of stuff here and there. It could be grass or some kind of greenery. I'm just kind of going at it all over the place. Nothing really special in particular. Now I'm putting my next coat on those leaves on the back. This is going to be the background. I'm going to do some lighter leaves in front of them. And that's what I'm doing right now, that you can't see what I'm doing. And it will take more than one coat because, like I said, it's kind of transparent. But after you get your 2 coats of green, the light green ones in, I went and added a little more greenery here and there. just being random. You don't have to do that, but it's really up to you. Now, after this next coat, you can really start seeing that greenery come alive. Now I'm going to be putting in the veins on the leaves. And I'm going to put a stripe down the middle of each one, and then I'll put the little side veins. I'm going to do most of them off camera, and then I'll just show you with a super fine eyeliner brush, disposable eyeliner brush. I just go in and just put some little lines on both of them. And then you're going to let that dry. Now I took a charcoal pencil and kind of sketched in lightly. You're not going to be able to see it too well, but I sketched in my Plumeria flowers. Just kind of a rough draft of what I wanted. I was trying to decide if I wanted to do 3 flowers or just 2 right there. Now I'm going to take that super fine eyeliner brush and outline my leaves and figure out exactly where I want them to be. And I do thin down that titanium white a lot. And most of my colors that I use throughout the video, I'm using it just slightly watered down some. Now I'm filling in the leaves. And I'm going to let that dry. And now I've decided to add a couple of leaves for like it's just starting to bloom. Now I'm putting the second coat of white in. Let that dry. Now I'm taking the cadmium or yellow medium hue, and I'm doing it at the base towards the middle, out towards the edge, but not all the way to the edge. If you can see, I have a little bit of white sticking out there because this is going to be two-toned. And I'm using my Winstonia fine, I think it's a nail brush. Now I'm going to take it and add some white to it and make it more of a buttery yellow or just a creamier yellow. And I'm going to apply it to the second flower because we're going to be doing a different color on the edges of the leaves on that one. And of course, like I said, it's going to take 2 coats. Now I'm just applying that second coat. And same thing with the other flower. Now I'm taking the white and I watered it down some so it's more of a glaze, and I'm just feathering in some white on those points of the flowers. And also the edges that kind of flip up on one side, I'm also going to go over those, and you're going to see me go over those several times on the flowers because I want that to look like the leaves are popping up some. And there I am using my finger sometimes to blend. I know that's a bad habit, but it works. Now I'm taking the straight cadmium yellow again, now that it's dried some, and I'm putting more at the base part and then along the side of the white part that's the leaf curl. You want it to have a little bit of dark next to the leaf curl so that you can tell that it's curled up for some dimension. Now I'm just outlining again, going over the white again, doing the same thing with the feathering in the tips on the flower. Now I'm taking some magenta And I watered it down a whole lot, so it's more like a glaze. And I'm just feathering in that magenta on the ends. And you're going to see me put paint on there and then dab it with my finger and then paint and then dab. And I'm going to go along on each leaf. I'm going along the left side with the magenta, and on the right side is where the leaf is curling. So you don't want to apply it on top of the curl. So see, it's all the way around. You're going to do it, the magenta on the left, and leave that white curl there. And you just keep blending and blending until, you know, you're happy with it. Now I'm taking some yellow and I'm just putting it in between that magenta and the cadmium yellow, just to help give it a little more blend. Now I took some of the white, the butter yellow white, and I put a little on and then tap, tap, tap with my finger. And it just gives a real nice blend. Now I'm taking dioxazine purple, and I thinned it out with water and added some titanium white to make more of a lighter purple. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm feathering in on the points of the petals. And you're going to want to go to the left again, or to the right, whichever way you decide to draw your flowers. Whichever side the curl is on, you don't want to apply the purple to. So for me, it's the left side is the side that doesn't have the curl. So you're going to go all the way down on that side. And then on the right side, you're going to leave the curl. Now I'm mixing up some more light yellow, and I'm going in and putting a little bit and smashing it with my finger to help it blend. Now I'm taking straight dioxazine purple and I'm thinning it down, and I'm going to outline. And also I'm going to feather in because I want it to blend from darker to light. So I'm going to outline and then feather all the way around. Sorry about the phone call. Now I'm just going to keep doing that. And I'll just keep going over it and over it until I'm happy with it. Now I'm putting some darker yellow along the white curl, so it gives it some dimension and it looks like a curl. Now I'm adding some into the little blossom next to it. Just a little magenta at the top and some yellow at the bottom. Then I took some black and I just made a dot with my dotting tool in the middle. And I'm going back with white now again and applying white to all the curls and the outline, just so that white's showing. But I have that paint thinned out so much that's why I keep going over it, because I want to make sure that it really pops out and looks like a curl. And then I'm going over the blossom again with a little yellow at the base. Now I'm taking that bright cadmium yellow and applying it where those curls were, just to make sure that that curl is popping out. I don't know what else to call that but a petal curl. Now I wasn't happy with where I was getting, so I got some of my Posca ink from my pen and I started going over it, and then I was happy with it. It just made it a little bit brighter white, and that's what I was looking for. Remember, you can do that with your Posca pens, dot a little bit out, and there's a lot of things you can do with that ink. It works really well. Now I'm taking some of the dioxazine purple and I'm just feathering little tiny lines out from the from the dot that I put. And then I'm going to do the same with the magenta. Just little tiny lines just to make it look more real there in the center. Now I'm going to use Createx airbrush paint, and I'm going to use it in black. And I have a brush that I have cut down super fine where there's only a couple of hairs in there. And I'm outlining every petal with it. Super fine black line for every single petal. And it's really going to pop those flowers out and give it some detail. I love the Createx for outlining. It's by far my favorite thing to outline with. A super fine brush, and the paint is pretty good, opaque, and super thin. Almost like your Posca pen ink. So I'm just going to do that to both flowers. Now the fun part. You didn't think you were going to get away without using glitter, did you? I'm using Champagne Extreme Glitter on the sand, and I just dotted some around. Now I'm using Enchanted Blue and Enchanted Green. And so the green I put where the turquoise was, and the blue I put where the blue was in the water. And you'll see I go in with my finger too and add some extra where I wanted it. And I just put it all through the water, not in the sky. And then I took that little fine eyeliner brush and drew in some little birds, just because I felt like it needed a little something else, just for fun. Now I'm painting in Aloha with my Angelic series Signo gel pen. There's a whole set that it came with some pastels, and I really love them. Plus the bonuses, these gel pens work really good on top of Liquitex paint. They don't work that great on top of craft paint, but they seem to work great on Liquitex paint. So you can see how I do it. I kind of treat it like a picture when I do my lettering, and I go back and I put in the base part, and then I go back and just thicken where I want. Now I started out with this Vibes, the Aloha Vibes, and I end up taking it off because I don't like it. I just used a Q-tip and water and just took it off, and I moved the Vibes over just a little bit. See, you can see it's the new one. That's all there is to it.